Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. Today, I've got a short but an important episode for you because we are diving into a topic that is truly transformational when you learn how to practice it more effectively, and especially during tough, challenging times. And that is self-love. Because here's the truth. We often realize just how much we need self-love when we are in the thick of a difficult time, of a challenging time. When things are going well, self-love can feel pretty easy, right? It's quite easy to love yourself when life is going well and things are going your way. But it really is when life throws us those curveballs, when we are feeling different challenges happening, that is when we need it the most. And at the same time, it's also when it feels the hardest to give ourselves. So today, I want to talk about active ways that you can learn to practice self-love when you need it the most. Because self-love isn't just a feeling, it is an action. Love is a verb, so we want to find ways to actively practice it. And I know personally on my own journey, what has been such a big key learning has been to recognize that self-love is unconditional. It is, again, easy to love ourselves when things are going well, but when we stumble or when maybe we're not meeting our own expectations or when we're not meeting the expectations of other people, that's when it gets harder. Years ago, and I'm talking like 20 years ago, my life coach, Lisa Garber, who's been a guest on this podcast, I remember so vividly being in a room. We were part of a coaching group, and she asked us if we loved ourselves. And at the time, I don't know if I actually rolled my eyes, but if I didn't do it externally, I certainly did it internally. And I thought, okay, here we go again. Of course, I love myself. And the fact that I had so much resistance around even being asked the question now is so obvious. But what I learned and what I've been discovering since that very first time she asked that question is that I, yes, loved myself so long as I weighed a certain amount of weight, so long as I was showing up in a certain way, so long as I checked a whole list of boxes that I had decided for myself. So part of my healing process and journey has been in learning to love myself regardless of what is happening externally, regardless of what's going on within, and really truly more have a commitment to honor myself at every stage, regardless of the circumstances. And that is what self-love is. Now, let's start with the difference between self-love and self-care, because these are two words that are used often interchangeably, but they're not quite the same. Self-care is more around taking care of yourself, as the word says. So that can look like a bubble bath, wrapping yourself up in a cozy blanket and reading one of your favorite books. It can mean like going for a massage or going out with some friends. So it involves activities, ways in which you are nourishing yourself. They feel good. Self-care feels good. I listened or I saw Jay Shetty, and if you don't know Jay Shetty, he's the host of the podcast On Purpose, the author of Think Like a Monk. And I remember seeing a video that he posted where he explained the difference between self-care and self-love in such a great way, where it was self-care is about comfort, self-love is actually about discomfort. And what he means by that is that self-love at its core means doing what is best for you, for your mind, your body, your soul, even when that's hard. So when we think of self-love, and we're going to dive into this in just a little bit, but self-love often requires doing things that may not feel good, that may feel very uncomfortable. But it is choosing practices or choosing things that are for your highest and best. It is honoring yourself at every level, which oftentimes will require being way outside of your comfort zone. So that is the difference between self-care and self-love. Self-care is a way in which we love ourselves. So it plays a role, but the two are different. One definitely serves the other and vice versa. Absolutely. Self-care plays a big role in loving yourself. Another sort of similar topic would be self-compassion. And self-compassion, again, is another way in which we practice self-love, in which we love ourselves. I love the RAIN method, which the teacher, Tara Brach, uses. And it is called, so she calls it the RAIN method. And what it means is, it's an acronym. R means recognize, which means when you are going through a challenging time or you are experiencing difficult emotions, the way in which we can practice self-compassion is R, we recognize it. So first we need to acknowledge what's happening. We need to be aware of what we are feeling. We want to name the emotion or the struggle, the challenge. So it can look like, okay, I am feeling anger, pain, fear, jealousy, shame, guilt, or I am going through a very difficult time right now, this healing, or I'm going through a difficult time in my relationship. Or so you want to name the emotion, the challenge that you're going through. A stands for accept. So you name it, and now you accept it. And you accept it by allowing yourself to have the experience without judgment. So yes, I'm feeling fear. Yes, I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling guilt. I'm really worried right now about what's happening in my life. I'm really concerned about this. I'm experiencing that this relationship is not quite working out, and this is causing me a lot of stress. So we're accepting it. We're allowing ourselves to have the experience. I is to investigate, and that means to get curious. Where is this coming from? What do I need in this moment? What is this teaching me? I'm experiencing a lot of jealousy right now. I'm allowing myself to feel the jealousy. And what is this teaching me? Why am I feeling this way? Because maybe I'm feeling this jealousy because it's showing me that there's something about this experience that I'm witnessing that I want for myself. So we get curious. N is to nurture. And that is when you actually are offering yourself the kindness. That's when you become your friend, your own friend. So you recognize, you accept, you investigate, and then you nurture, you give yourself what you need. And that is a practice. When we learn to practice self-compassion during difficult times is where, again, we can offer ourselves the kindness that we need, the compassion that we need. It is an active way of loving ourselves, of shifting from criticism to a place of more love. Now, here's the thing. Self-love will always begin with a certain level of awareness, as we just talked about. The only way to know what we need is to create enough stillness in our lives to actually listen, to witness, to notice what is happening within ourselves, to be with the fact that, okay, this is a really tough time right now. And instead of distracting myself or instead of pretending that everything is okay, I am actually still enough to witness what is going on, to witness also how my body is communicating with me, because our body holds on to the emotions. Our bodies are always communicating with us as well. You know, we feel pain here. We have, trouble with our digestion or headaches or whatever it is, the way in which your body manifests that stress or those emotions. Your body is also communicating with you. So we need to create moments of stillness, whether that's through meditation, whether it's through deep breathing, through walks outside in nature, through just unplugging from your phone, social media, so that you actually begin to have the clarity that you need. We are giving away so much of our energy all day long. Part of stillness is being able to receive that energy again, so that you can pause, you can take a deep breath, and you can pay attention and listen to what you need. And that is always where loving yourself begins. Now let's go back to the discomfort that self-love can bring about. And that is because, once again, love is a verb and it requires action. Self-love doesn't always mean doing what feels good in the moment. So going back to the idea of self-care, right? Self-care, we're doing things that feel good, that are comforting, that are nurturing, nourishing, all good. When we love ourselves, it means that we may need to make decisions, to take actions that feel uncomfortable. And when I say we may feel, we likely will feel that way. So that can look like setting boundaries with someone that you love, and that can be really difficult. It can mean saying no to people, saying no to activities, saying no to habits maybe that do not serve your higher purpose, that do not serve your well-being, but you've become used to them and they create comfort in your life. So breaking habits that no longer serve you will feel uncomfortable. It may mean moving your body, nourishing your body, going, working out, lifting weights, nourishing your body in terms of nutrition and being really intentional with eating foods that fuel you. So that means, maybe it requires more time, more preparation, more work, when the easiest thing to do is to order a pizza. But you know that is not loving yourself either, right? So there are times for all of that. We're talking about long term. Honoring your gifts, living a life of purpose, following your purpose, likely is going to require stepping out of your comfort zone and doing things that you do not want to do. Yet it is an act of self-love because it is why you are here. The world needs you to show up in your fullest expression with your gifts. And so putting yourself out there in that new way will feel uncomfortable, yet it is one of the greatest ways in which you can love yourself. The way that I love to think about it is there is the me here today, and then there is the 90-year-old version of me. So I'm just using a random number right now, but there is the future self or my future self. And so when I am practicing, let's say, self-care, I am doing that. I'm practicing self-care right now for me today. But when I am loving myself, it's not just about loving the me that is here today, but it's also about loving the future version of me, the 90-year-old self version of me. That has always helped me in making the decisions that I know are not only serving me today, but they're serving her. They're serving my future self. My 90-year-old self is definitely cheering me on to go and do that workout, to go to that yoga class and stretch my body so that my future self can then bend and tie her shoes and run around with her great grandkids and do the things that she loves to do in a healthy body. So when I think of loving myself, it's not just loving myself today, but it's loving my future self. And that helps in determining what do I need to do now, because it will feel uncomfortable. Certainly, when we start, especially in the beginning, right? So if you're not used to moving your body and you know that that's exactly what you need, yeah, it's going to feel uncomfortable. But over time, your discomfort becomes comfortable. And then maybe you find ways to move your body that feels fun. Maybe now all of a sudden you crave the workout. So it doesn't mean that it always stays uncomfortable, but it may in the beginning. And that is what loving yourself is. Not just loving yourself today, but loving your future self. And that is so incredibly powerful when you can make that shift. I also wanted to mention that what is very important is to also acknowledge just how far you've come. There's a book that I've referred to often, and it's called The Gap and the Gain. And that book, why I love it, is just a reminder that a lot of the struggles that we have, or where we start to feel less than, is when we compare ourselves to the ideal version of where we think we should be. And that is when we're in the gap. And that's where it can be difficult to love ourselves in this moment during a challenging time, because now we're like, oh, I'm here, but I wish I was there. And this is so hard right now. And I find it more challenging to love myself. And I get that. And this is why we want to, really be aware and learn how to practice that self-love. But one thing that helps also is to take a look back, to focus on the gain, to focus on how far you have come, how you have survived every single challenge that's come your way, or you wouldn't be here in this moment, to acknowledge the accomplishments that you've done, the wins that you've had, the struggles and the challenges that you've faced and you've moved through, the people that you've been able to support and to help, the difference that you make in this world. So that is also an incredibly powerful way to love ourselves, is to remember just how far we've come. A fun exercise is to write yourself a love letter. We speak of, You can write a love letter to someone else, but how about writing one to yourself, reminding her, reminding you of how far you have come and how proud of her you are. And that is such a beautiful practice that you can do. So ultimately, self-love is finding that balance, finding that equilibrium between comfort and discomfort, between doing and being, between focus and consistency and discipline and letting go. So it's that place where you feel strong and you also, there's a softness to it, because self-love is always fluid. It always changes. It really is just about staying true to who you are and listening to what you need in every moment, but also honoring the you of today. So it's also the balance between the you of today and your future self. So always one of my favorite questions is to ask myself in those moments, how can I love myself right now? How can I choose love in this moment? And then pay attention, listen, do the best you can to act on it and to just take that one step forward, because you are worthy of your own love. I want to thank you so much for being here. I have one of my dear friends, we have this text exchange going on where we will just randomly text each other and say, you are a miracle. So we'll just remind ourselves of that. And I don't remember when it started, but it's just this beautiful exchange that I have with her. And she's moved away, so I don't see her as often now. But I want to remind you that you are a miracle. I am sending you so much love. You are spiritually wired for love, for success, for abundance, for peace, for calm, for joy. And until next week, I will see you then. Take care, and maybe love yourself a little extra today. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.